That's what led to Gregory Dean's arrest in New York after he was pulled over for a minor traffic violation by a state trooper. Dean was charged with violating the state's new SAFE Act, which sets a 7-bullet limit on the number of rounds gun owners can load into a magazine. Governor Cuomo calls the legislation, quote unquote, common sense, and boasts his state now has the toughest gun laws in the country because the SAFE Act also includes a ban on assault weapons. But when the district attorney in Columbia County investigated Gregory's case, he decided to drop the gun charge. Take a look.
I really couldn't believe what was happening as it was happening. I was driving down the road and got pulled over for a license plate lamp being out. Everything snowballed from there.
In the course of getting pulled over, Gregory's gun permit was exposed to the officer, which led the officer to then inquire, well, do you have a gun? So Gregory said, yes, I have a gun on the passenger seat. Why didn't it stop there? Why did he feel he had the legal right to pull the magazine out and start counting bullets?
In your mind, was the search an unlawful search?
Absolutely an unlawful search.
Forget the extremists. It's simple. No one needs 10 bullets to kill a deer.
So the trooper told me that I was in violation of the SAFE Act and that I had too many bullets in my magazine. I was taken into custody, had my property impounded, detained, taken back to a police station. It was lunacy.
And the madness set him an example for the rest of the nation.
Knee jerk. What this SAFE Act has done in this instance, provable, is taken a law-abiding citizen, a permitted gun owner, and made him a criminal. That's what it did.
But Gregory Dean's case took an unexpected turn when the district attorney in Columbia County decided not to prosecute him under the SAFE Act. And that's a first for Governor Cuomo's new gun control law.
I am a strong supporter of the entire Constitution, including the Second Amendment. Needless to say, I do have a personal opinion about the law, but my personal opinion has little, if any, relevance. I've considered the entire law in all the circumstances of the arrest and his criminal history, if any. In this case, he had no criminal history, and I made a decision not to prosecute him for that particular offense.
I was very surprised, but what he did was a class move, and he took the rug out from underneath the SAFE Act with respect to my client, essentially nullifying the legislation that was enacted by the governor of our state.
Does it concern you that your decision not to prosecute Gregory Dean in this case has angered some judges in New York?
I don't work for judges. Perhaps one of the most serious parts of our respective jobs is to exercise our discretion as we're elected to do. It's not unusual for me to go against the grain.
Learning from Connecticut, this law is going to make this state a safer state.
How? That's my question, is how. Because any criminal that's carrying a gun, they already don't care about the law. So what's going to stop them from filling that magazine to capacity?
If you look at the law, the only conclusion you can draw is that it is about an agenda, because I have not seen yet a direct correlation between the SAFE Act and keeping our citizens safer.
You know, having been a prosecutor and a DA and a judge, a public defender, I don't ever remember a criminal checking what the latest statute was before he or she decided to commit a crime.
It doesn't affect anybody other than legally permitted pistol holders. So I really don't see how it's going to save anybody's life.
It's an unenforceable law. I believe it'll ultimately be declared to be unconstitutional.
For any legislature to put a law into effect overnight without any public input, and then if you have sheriffs and law enforcement saying they're not going to enforce something that the top dog in the state is saying should be a law, it needs to go. It absolutely needs to go.
Doesn't it send a message to Governor Cuomo? Listen to the public. The other thing that I am finding when I do speak to law enforcement personnel about this law, they don't know a whole lot about it.
I'm still arguing with members of the state police, just trying to find out what the law really means, which is just another point about how bad the law is.
They don't know what to charge people with. They don't know how to go about charging the people with it under the new law. Under the new law. That's all they call it, the new law.
Does it concern you when it comes to the kind of laws we're passing right now, that the criminals have more rights than the law-abiding citizens?
We in law enforcement, police officers in particular who are on the front lines every day, in my opinion, spend an inordinate amount of time dealing with issues that appear to protect the criminals who don't need protection instead of protecting the victims. And it's very, very scary. Columbia County has traditionally been a very rural county, but over the last several years, there has been an explosion of offenses in violent crime. A very major problem with repeat offenders.
What do you think about the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association challenging the SAFE Act, filing a lawsuit, trying to get it repealed?
I think it's necessary because somebody like me, I don't have much pull in state legislature at all. So we need people like the NRA and the rifle associations to join the fight, or otherwise we'll never get heard.
Can you hear us now, Governor?
This got passed through like that. So yes, put the NRA muscle behind it so that it's not turning everyday law-abiding citizens into criminals.
To me, that's the biggest reason why I am fighting for this. I'm a very big believer in our freedoms and the rights that we carry as American citizens. I was in the United States Marine Corps. I'm big on target shooting. A lot of my family hunts, and I feel like I'm speaking for every gun owner in New York State, because otherwise the legislature is just going to run over everybody.
Where would we be? Where would we be? Thank God for him, and hopefully any other citizen that's going to come after him, especially if they get the message that you can fight and you can win.
And this country is built on people who fought the oppressors the whole way through. And if we stop now, we won't have pistol permits anymore. We won't have the Second Amendment or the right to bear arms.